Hello, hello, hello. How's it going out there? Thank everybody for stopping by. Another episode of Mannimal Research. Those of you that are going to watch us tonight live, and those of you that will check it out later, we certainly appreciate it. We really do. If all you guys that haven't done so yet, if you would, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, please. We sure would appreciate it. We nowhere near where we want to be on subscribers, but we're growing every day, guys, and I appreciate it. It's people like y'all that are doing it and spreading the word, and I certainly appreciate it. Also, if you would take the time to run over to mannimalresearch.com, put a lot of time, a lot of work into that website. And I'd appreciate it if you guys would check it out. Let me know what you think about it. Sure would appreciate it. You can also report your encounters there. You can get some information about joining Manimal, maybe getting out and doing some field research of your own, and things like that. We have guests on every week, as I'm sure a lot of you know, that talk about their experiences, and this is how we get some of them guys submitting their reports on here and agreeing to come on and talk about what happened to them. And as always, we can respect your anonymity if you don't want your name or anything out there like that. We can certainly do that. We understand that unfortunately there is some ridicule that comes with this territory. So if you guys would do that, I would appreciate it. So before we get started tonight with our guests, I had just a couple of things to talk about. I'm sure that a lot of our loyal viewers will remember, but a few weeks ago, I talked about how I have found the Lord. I've been going to church, praying constantly. I've been studying the Bible, and I talked about how much my life had improved, and it really has. Everything has looked up, and I know that I have God to thank for that. And all that being said, here recently, I've been finding myself praying for this group, for Mannimal Research, for God to just guide me in the right direction, help me make good decisions, be a good leader, and to do all these things. And it had just been weighing on me. Something had been weighing on me. I didn't know what it was, so I prayed about it a lot. And as a result of that, I believe, as a result of that, we had some news this week. Mannimal Research will be moving on from this time forward without Ricky Weaver. Hold absolutely no ill will toward Ricky at all. I wish him the best, both with, well, first and foremost with his health. He'd been suffering from some health issues, so I'll continue to pray for that. But also in his research, he's not done researching. He's gonna go a different way with it, and that is fine. I wish him all the luck in the world. Yeah. All of that being said, though, I do have some good news. With Ricky being gone, a fan favorite is going to be stepping in and taking his place, both his role in Manimal and as a co-host. Your boy Walls, Derek Jasper Walls, is going to be coming on starting next week. He's going to be co-hosting the show with me, and he's going to be taking over Ricky's role in the group. So yeah, no worries when it comes to Walls. Walls is awesome. I mean, to be honest, he probably should have had a role like this from the beginning. But Walls is excited about it. I'm excited about it. But the people that know about it are excited for him too. So, guys, Manimal's not going anywhere. We are going to be stronger than ever. We're motivated, and we're going to be stronger moving forward. So, got all that out of the way. We will talk about tonight's guests for a little bit. We have Ken and Rachel King coming back on. We had them on last week, And I'll be honest, I was telling Ken a little bit about this before we came on. These guys are in the studio backstage right now. Before we bring them on, I was talking to Ken and told him that as of right before tonight, we went live tonight, we have added 100, exactly 100 more subscribers than we had this time last week. So that is awesome. That is awesome. The last week's video, the interview that we did with Ken and Rachel, just went over 1,200 views on Facebook. That might not be a lot for some people, but it's about 3 or 4 times more than we've been getting, because we are a new group. We've only been doing this since January, and we're growing. But last week certainly helped us out. It really did. And these guys are awesome. I've watched a bunch of their YouTube videos. It's Arkansas Bigfoot, and Rachel actually has her own page or her own channel on YouTube, and it's called Into the Veil. Guys, check that out as well. She's doing some really cool stuff too. But they are on tonight to talk about some of the more weird stuff that's been going on their property, and we are happy to have them. There they are, Mr. Ken, Mrs. Rachel. How you guys doing? I'm not hearing you. Something happened? Having a little bit of technical difficulty. We were hearing them fine right before we came on. Can you guys hear me okay? I still got nothing. I got nothing, guys. Everybody, y'all bear with us for just a second, please, while we try to get this up and going. I'm not hearing any. No. Yeah, I'm sorry about this, guys. They just went off the air, trying to fix it on their end. Hang tight for just a couple more seconds. Hopefully we can go get it going. I'll take this time to say hello to people that are in here. Got good old Pappy Two Bears. He's in here every week. Eric Young. Eric's actually the one that put me on to Ken's page, Arkansas Bigfoot. Welcome, guys. Appreciate your support. Miss Mary Wright. This says that she is her first time here, so we appreciate that. Appreciate that, Mary. Thank you, ma'am. And Scottish Wild Man. He's on here too. He's one of our regulars. Appreciate it, buddy. See if we can get Ken. There they are. I hear something now.
Can you hear anything now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can.
All right, that's great.
There's a.
How about now?
Yeah, we can hear you guys good.
In the
Yay.
land of weird, we're well accustomed. So
we get a lot of electronic interferences.
we all know who's responsible for that. Bigfoot did that, guys.
Always.
Yeah, just talking you guys up a little bit. Talking about adding 100 new subscribers, guys. That's awesome. A new show like this, we've only been out since January, like I said, and to go from not even 300 subscribers to almost 400 now is a big jump in a week, and we appreciate it. And plus 1,200 views, guys. That's awesome. All that speaks to you guys' character. It speaks to your integrity, that y'all have a good following. People believe in you. and that really says a lot. So thank you guys for helping out.
Thank you.
Well, that speaks volumes to our subscribers and followers. They're probably some of the best people that we've encountered in a long time.
Absolutely, guys. All right, I was telling everybody we're gonna get a little weird this week if y'all wanted to.
Not us.
No. What we'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll bring up one of these pictures. Ken sent me a couple of pictures this week, and I'll put up that first one that he sent, and guys, talk about this for us just a little bit.
All right, that photo. Rachel's got to dig up all of the nitty-gritty detail off of her phone, but that was a screenshot capture off of one of our videos. And Rachel does some videos on her channel about the elementals like elves and pixies and things like that, and has some places out in the woods set up that she does that kind of research or interaction. And we've had a lot of that activity in the woods in the past 6-7 months especially. And that's just a face of one of them peering out at us while we're walking down the trail doing a Bigfoot video. It seems like every time we go down there and we start talking, these little things kind of crawl out of the woodwork, and it's like our own private audience.
I believe that was one that Val had sent. T Flying B.
What was that?
A subscriber, his name is Val, T Flying B, and he does amazing work in finding these things.
Okay, is that the gentleman you were telling me about that is the photographer?
I believe so, and
right.
Mm-hmm, and he's extremely good with being able to tell the difference between pareidolia and actual
things
presence.
that are there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you beat me to it. That was going to be my next question, because I know it's going to be a lot of people's question. How can you guys be sure that it's not that? But looking at this, it doesn't look like it to me. It looks like there's something there. So how is a way that someone can be sure that it's not that pareidolia, whatever that word is?
Well, I guess you could try different filters on your phone or on your computer, and if the image stays consistent, whether you brighten it or darken it, then it's something that is at least somewhat solid right there. That's one way to find out. Playing with different filters on your phone or your whatever picture program that you would have. That would
probably be, he would be able to tell us better, but I think that would probably be the best route.
Okay, now I know something else I was wondering, do y'all see these things yourself while you're out there, or is it a case of finding it on a video when you go back, or did you actually see this guy?
We didn't see him until we looked later on in the video and found him. But we have seen others out there, smaller ones, some of them as small as 6 or 8 inches tall, some of them as tall as 7-8 foot tall.
I was walking through on the last Ferry Hollow. No, the first Ferry Hollow video I did, and we were just walking up the path, and something said, "Look left." I mean, just like that, and I turned left, and I don't know why, but I knew to take a picture, and there was the smallest little pixie, and something else standing behind her, and I couldn't tell. And I say her because the hair was long and dark, and the ears were pointed, and she was just as clear as day. So I don't know what made me turn left.
We were out in the woods filming one day, and I think that was probably early. I'm trying to remember exactly which video it was.
Missing camper.
No, this was later than that. But we're walking down the trail, and at first, just because of the size of it, I thought, well, maybe it's like a raccoon or something, that because it was about the size of that, if it were standing up on 2 legs, so from the ground up, maybe 2 foot tall. And I watched it, and it turned and looked, and when it turned and looked, it had a full human face, and it looked over its shoulder at me and then turned right back around. and walked straight into a tree trunk, just dissipated,
It's gone.
vanished into the tree trunk. Took about 4 steps, and there it was into the tree and gone. It wasn't a hollow tree, it was a solid tree. It just walked right into it and disappeared.
And we just haven't
Wow.
heard. Yeah. Strange
You
little
said it
things.
had a human face, that particular one, Ken?
It had a human face. You could definitely see the detail of its eyes and mouth and chin and all of that. Well, so when I first saw it, just because of the size of it, I thought it was a raccoon at the distance, like a raccoon sitting up, about 2 foot tall. But then I realized it was walking on 2 legs. When it turned and looked at me, you could see the little human type face on it, and it just turned right back and walked into the tree and vanished. So
We
I
finally
don't.
got to the place where we really had to cross-contaminate. We didn't have a choice because it was
and
just.
I want to make this statement. I have not had any kind of medication. I haven't drank in 30 years.
Me either. Not a drop.
Aspirin is about the only thing that is in our medicine shelf now. But, I'm not smoking nothing. I'm not drinking nothing.
Can you imagine what we'd be like, though?
And to be honest, I don't know of a whole lot of things you can drink or smoke that would make you see little raccoon-sized people with human faces walking into trees,
Well, if there was and you could market it, you'd be a billionaire.
That's right. Now, these things that you have seen out in the woods and noticed, things like this because I've heard before these type things can be a little mischievous. Have any of them ever tried to mess with you in any way?
Yes.
I'll let you have this one.
I am not happy with them right now, which is why I haven't done the next fairy video. They're in the same way that Sasquatch will test. I think they do also, to be honest. So I'm not entirely upset with them, but not too long ago we were filming and left him a snack and everything was fine. I didn't invade any spaces. I didn't do anything wrong, and I know this for a fact. And one was up, and it was not Sasquatch, but just threw a limb straight down. And I have a picture, but it's not edited well. It's almost too big to see. I enlarged it too much, but you can see, I don't know what it is. It's too big to be pixie. It's not elf. It's got to be goblinish. Just some little troublemaker sitting up on a limb.
You can see the little cloth cone-shaped cap on its head, the whole 9 yards.
It could be gnomish, but I don't know. It doesn't feel right either.
Whatever he was a little turd.
So, I mean, and I don't know why that irritated me the way that it did. I think it's just funny what strikes us, because Sasquatch could do that and I wouldn't think anything of it. And then we've been walking through and we've literally had things on the trail that normally we're just passing by, and
a limb or a vine reach out and...
I mean, it all but, and it sounds nuts, and I know this, but it all but reaches out and grabs you, and it's almost like something pushed it to you, that you can't see. But anyway, long story short, you just have to kind of be careful. And we've seen some things out there that were not elementals. They're otherworldly, and we don't have names for them. So we're always on point.
Back in February, we went out at nighttime during the full moon, and we were going to do a full moon video on the Bigfoot channel. And I had a little ground light that I was going to sit out about 20 feet in front of us just to get some illumination for the camera. And as I was walking down that piece of trail, this canine looking, I mean, it wasn't a dog, it wasn't a wolf, but this canine looking thing came up out of the creek bottom and stood there and stared me down. It had, glowing eyes, the whole 9 yards. It was on 4 legs. If it had been on 2 legs, we might not have stayed for the rest of the night. But it just didn't have the same energy as a normal animal. And it stared at me for a few seconds. I just stood there and stared back at it. It turned and went right back into the creek bottom and disappeared.
We had gotten
And that was the same night we caught the very first large orb on video.
On the hill, just right. We would have been triangulated. The orb was across from us. This thing would have been to our left.
And it came out from our left and hovered and stopped and looked at us and then went back to the left a little bit and then came back, looked at us again, and then shot off. So it was moving with a mentality to it. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just something just flowing through on the breeze.
We never have figured out what it was. We really don't want to know.
Now, this dog type thing that you were just describing, did it vocalize at all? Did it make any sound?
No, it didn't make any sound. And from what I could tell in the dark, it was kind of a darker color than a deer, but kind of along that line of that brownish red look to it.
Mm-hmm.
More
kind of like the dark color of a red bloodhound. Mm-hmm. You know, that real dark, rich red a bloodhound would have.
Yeah.
Similar to that. Only it had pointed ears, pointed nose. Its eyes and its face didn't look like a normal dog or coyote or, you know, anything like that.
We really just don't know.
But it had an entirely different energy. You could tell it wasn't an animal. It was something different. It was just an appearance.
Now, since you brought that up, it's something that I've been wondering about, and I'm sure others have well, because I don't know personally what to make of this topic. I know that it's getting a lot of interest out there, and I'm sure you know where I'm going with this is Dogman. Have you guys had any experiences with this thing, or do you know anything about it, or what? Because I don't know what to think. I don't know what to make of it.
Personally, no. That was as deep as the actual physical seeing encounter of anything that was a canine type that we had.
We have a lot of viewers that find canine images in our videos, and we're not really aware of them. They're not causing us a problem if we're, filming.
But, we did find a couple of different times down there tracks that were 3 or 4 toed.
Very big.
That were probably 7-8 inches long, bigger than any normal dog or wolf would make. And
we asked,
anything's a possibility. Genetically, I don't know how you would go about structuring a dog that walks up on its hind legs bipedal, but, I'm not going to say it's not possible. We just haven't personally seen it.
Well, and I told Ken that it seems to me that it's almost like, yes, they're there, but it's almost like they're behind a glass or they can't come into the space. And I don't know really how to explain that well, but we have found a number of protective glyphs, and early, about February, I think, there was a lot going on in February, but we kind of were sent out of the woods, if you will, by the people on a full moon video.
All right, so let me back this story up. We went down there to do the full moon video twice. The first time we got down to the spot that we wanted to sit, and everything said, "Get out, leave. You're not welcome down here tonight." And so we left the space, and it felt like we were being ushered out of the woods. And after that night passed, we came back and did the next night, where we saw the canine, saw the orb, had some different voices come up on the audio of the camera, EVP, and
there were, in the light of the day, we could see where there were new glyphs where we had just been the day before. And it felt like, although we hadn't tested or understood a lot of the glyph work, it felt like whatever was going on when we were there the first time was very dangerous to us and potentially even aggravating to Sasquatch. And they were taking care of the problem. And it was like, you don't need to be here right now. It's time to go home.
And that feeling lasted for close to a week,
Mm-hmm.
and then it lifted, and didn't really have any kind of issue or problem with it. Now, a lot of the viewers, when they're watching the videos, have sent us images where they picked out in the distance, and you'll see like a wolf or a dog type face looking around a tree at us. You know, personally, we've never seen one manifest standing on two legs out there.
And I
But
think
whether they're hiding in the shadows and following around out of curiosity or whatever it is they do.
there's an old saying, and I think it may be the old tree spirits, the dryads, that, and I don't want to be wrong in this, but I believe they have the ability, or they're known to shapeshift into wolves. So sometimes I think that these things could be against us, and sometimes it's just a natural form for them to take if they need to.
And a lot of the, I'm going to use the word fae as a general broad term for a lot of these elemental creatures, they're able to take on various forms of different animals. But when you see them, you know they're not that animal. There's something different about them. And that may have been what that canine thing was that I saw. And that may be what some of those images that people are finding in the video back in the distance. It might be these elemental things taking on an appearance just to be seen, you know, at that time. That's just a thought.
We've never known Sasquatch to be shapeshifters. I've heard different lore that say they can, but I've never personally experienced that out of them.
Now, go ahead, Ken. I'm sorry.
I'm not going to accuse Bigfoot of being guilty for all of these things showing up in the woods, but it's coincidental, and there's no such thing as coincidence, that whenever you start finding a lot of consistent Bigfoot activity in an area, these things migrate into that area as well. And I don't know if it's because of the energy attraction of the space, and so they're using the same pathways and doors to come and go. So that's kind of my thought on that. They're just sharing the same railway to get to where they want to go.
I have a picture of one tree, and you literally can see a rectangular door. I mean, it is a rectangular door on this tree, and I had to look at it several times. I thought, man, this is messing with me, you know? But it's a door, and you can almost see a door frame around it, and how we caught that, I've never been able to catch it since. Not once. So I think sometimes they use the same
same pathways.
Access points.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me ask you this. The area that you guys live in, do you know of any Indian reservations nearby? And this is just a theory that I have personally. But do you know of any?
Well, a lot of the actual reservations are now would be up into Oklahoma and stuff. But our house, literally, when you go 25 feet, 30 feet out the front door, it's literally on the old Trail of Tears. And this whole entire area was inhabited by
Choctaw, Chippewa. There were some Cherokee and the Quapaw.
But they were all through this area. You know, they've got mounds here and different things. We've got a mound in the back. You know, we've shown it on video. But yeah, there's a lot of Native American energy here.
Several trees that are, what would you call that, bent? The bent trees.
I know you've probably seen or heard of them, but they're a trail marker tree where they've been bent, you know, kind of like that into a kind of like an S shape and then back up again.
There's one back there.
Two of them back there. There's two of them back there. Somewhere back there, and I haven't found it yet, but there's supposed to be a little cemetery, just like a early 1800s, maybe half a dozen people or so in it. And we haven't found the spot yet, but it's supposed to be back there.
There's something about cemeteries, isn't there?
Yeah.
A couple of our hot spots down here are right on cemeteries. There's something about them. But
you can still see the rutting through the middle of the forest where the old wagon road, the old dirt road, used to cut through and ford across the creek. So it was a heavily traveled area, back in that time, 17 and 1800s. So yeah, there's a lot of energy. There's a lot of imprint left in the area.
The reason I ask about the Native American thing, because like I mentioned, it's just a personal opinion of myself, that when it comes to Dogman, I've always thought one of two things. First, it was a misidentified Bigfoot, could be. And then secondly, what I started to think was a lot of these Dogman encounters seem to happen near Indian reservations. And I just wonder if it could be a skinwalker. You guys know much about skinwalkers?
Yeah, and that's definitely a possibility. And skinwalkers were inherently a cursed medicine man that,
They would use the skins
and they would use skins to transform themselves into different animals, like a wolf or coyote, or even birds or different things. But I mean, that is a possibility. I can't say that it's not.
We try.
Hey, we got
Go ahead.
I was just saying we got a question from a viewer you guys might know is Kevin Duffy. Says, Wayne, you need to ask them about the boots, the balloon, and the clean sand. Crazy incident.
Kevin watches too much YouTube.
Which one you want to tackle first? The boots?
That must have been December or January. I'm trying to remember. And I was complaining because I didn't have a good pair of rubber boots.
She did. We just couldn't find them.
Okay.
They're buried somewhere out in the garage in a box someplace from when we had moved. But
I was getting really tired of soggy tennis shoes and about ready to go buy some. But I hated to waste the money if I had them.
So we went to town, got a sandwich, came back, and somebody had set some coolers out on the road. Well, you can always use an old cooler for fishing or whatever, throw your fish or bait or whatever in. So I stopped and picked them up, put them in the back of the truck, got back to the house and opened them up, and there was a pair of rubber boots.
Almost brand new.
Almost brand new, perfect her size in the cooler.
So that was our first experience in feeling like.
When it seemed like whenever we would start talking about something down in the woods, within a day or two, it would experience it. It would manifest. Maybe we should start talking about lottery numbers.
We're not living right. But we just started realizing that, whether it was an idea, a concept, something that was physical,
they'd show us some type of validation about what we had just been talking about a day or two before.
And mostly.
And how can you explain that?
I think, the easiest way that I have found to understand it is there's something with these people. Their DNA is not scrambled like ours is. You know how we have junk DNA. DNA
that's locked up where we can't access a genetic memory.
And these people do not have that blockage. They don't. We have the twisted helix.
Double helix.
But theirs is just a direct line to the Akashic records. Past, present, future. And I don't know how many times we've said they already knew we were going to do this. And it's true. If they really want
there's nothing we think about or talk about amongst ourselves about going down there that they're not already a step ahead of us.
And I think there's a few reasons for that. Energetically, we all have the ability. It's just ours it takes work and time and practice in order to reactivate that part of who we are, whereas it's effortless for them if all they need to do is think about us. For example, physical fact, energy is energy, and we all have an energy signature. They do, we do. If we walk through the woods, I almost feel or have felt that they can see our energetic footsteps. They're just that finite with energy.
just like a bloodhound can pick up a trace of a scent, days and days later, they can see your energetic impression of where you've been or where you've sat down or leaned up against or whatever.
And what originally got me thinking about it is folks that have, say, somebody was hunting and they took a shot at one, felt like they'd hurt or killed it, and then the clan comes after them. And I thought, how do they know where they live? How do they know all these things? And it kind of became clear.
You've left an energetic trail right to your door.
They're just perfection.
When
it comes to energy,
there's no such thing as getting one over on a Bigfoot. Mm-mm. They know what you're thinking and know what you're feeling before you even have it manifest in what you're doing. So the only thing that I can say about some of the weird and crazy experiments we try down there, in my mind and in my feelings about it, I tried to make it a game. A lot of times, people will watch just a particular video and they haven't seen the 2 or 3 videos leading up to that point, and they think, I'm some lunatic out there. And maybe some days I am, but I try to turn it into a game. How would you interact with a 7 or 8-year-old to keep their attention? What would you do to entertain them, to get them to react to you?
And they like the childlike aspect of who we are. They like the fun in what we do, and for us to have fun in doing it.
Whenever I get frustrated or serious about it, and I mean like really aggravated about something didn't go the way I thought or expected it should go, everything kind of locks up and it doesn't flow. When I let go of that and just go down there and let them show me what they want to show me, it's 10 times more than I ever expected. So they will show you what they want you to see. You're not going to coerce anything out of them.
The Mylar balloon was really random. It was 4th of July weekend, so this must have been right after. And although there were some, random fireworks still going off, you could hear half-mile away. But
we had watched, and I know you guys are familiar with Lewis and Kevin over at Bigfoot Research Evidence over at their podcast. Mm-hmm. Well, they had got together in a couple of the videos that had a Mylar balloon that they had found floating toward them down in this ravine while they were trying to work their way to a cave.
And it said that it was common. Well, we don't watch a lot of other people's,
Yeah, I'm not aware that these balloons follow people around like that. That wasn't even on my radar. So.
And I had said, wow, we've never gotten a Mylar balloon. And I don't know if they thought my feelings were hurt.
It wasn't an hour?
No, it wasn't a half hour. I don't think it was 15 minutes.
But I came out here where we're sitting now and went out the back door, and when I opened the door, this star-shaped blue Mylar balloon electric blue bouncing back and forth right in front of the door.
So we couldn't miss it. And he brought it in. and I looked at him and I thought, stop playing. Where'd you get that? We didn't have anybody close that was having a celebration that we knew of, but possible.
There it was outside the back door. And I brought it into the porch and I said, go see Rachel. And the balloon went right to her.
And I thought, oh no. I do a lot of spooky stuff, but I don't do haunted balloons.
Yeah, I'd be worried of who was carrying that balloon to you.
But it was the funniest thing. And then I had set it aside, and he said, call it to you. So I'm like, just entertaining him. I'm like, okay, come here. So sure enough, it's coming.
So it followed her around the whole time she was out here.
And I thought, I don't know what is going on with my life right now. I reached out to a couple of people, and I said, I think I'm done. I'm going on vacation.
It's about as creepy as a haunted doll,
It was just bizarre. We've never found one before, and not since. But that's the way these things manifest with these people if you put it out there.
All right, so that was the boots, and that was the balloon. What was the last one?
Clean sand.
Oh, that was kind of cool. we have a box that we had set up months ago, and
just a little wooden box, and we put play sand, like you
just
put in a
white
kid's
play
little
sand.
sandbox in it.
And I was kind of complaining because it needed changed, and we've had a reasonable amount of activity with it, so I don't want to leave, they're used to it being there.
Well, let me finish before we get ahead of ourselves. It is down in one of the gifting trees, and we use it to, we'll like make a little letter, like the letter K, our name in it, or we'll sit a little gift, marble or anything in it, whatever we're thinking about that day.
And we've gotten handprints back, or
a little
certain
scribble,
things back,
scribble writing and stuff in it.
Just, it's just a game.
But the sand had gotten filthy, and
really black. And I was fussing about it, and said to Ken, I really need to bring some fresh sand out. And we got out there the next visit, and there was, in Sasquatch terms, I would have probably given it the equivalent of a handful. And it was just as white as it was when it came out of the bag, with all of the other dirty sand still around it. And I'm looking at Ken, and he's looking, and I said, where'd this clean sand come from? He said, well, you said you were needed. I said, but I didn't bring it. And it was really kind of a neat thing, because I felt that Mama, or the one we call Mama, or Maya, had a hand in this one, and we don't get a lot out of her. But
most of the time she's really quiet and standoffish. She lets everybody else do all the work for her. But I guess she's pretty smart in that regard. But,
but I think she lets the babies go down there and get maybe their snacks and toys, whatever that might be there, if they want to play in the sand. And she must have heard me say that, because what she showed me, now wrap your brain around this, guys, but what she showed me was, if you have, they oscillate at a very high and fast vibrational rate at will. That's a lot of why we can't see them. If you have a snail and an apple in front of that snail's just creeping at the slowest motion possible. And if you reach down and grab that apple and pull it up, you can see the whole picture. You know what's going on. But you reach down and you move that apple, if you ask that snail would guarantee that it disappeared in front of his eyes, because it moved too quickly. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But their frequency is high enough that I saw her taking the sand and running it through her hand, it was like it filtered it.
Like a vibrational tumbler or something.
Yeah, almost like a brass tumbler. You know how it'll vibrate and clean the metal, but the sand stays clean. And that's as close to a similarity as I could find, but the frequency is so high that oscillation rate just filtered that without effort, just by going through her hand. And wow. I was kind of blown away with that. I've changed it out since then, but I thought that was a really neat lesson.
That's a really cool idea, you guys, to do that out there. I'm getting all kind of ideas to try. That's really cool.
Well, make a game out of it.
Make it fun.
In your mind, make a game out of it, because they enjoy that interaction. If they feel like they're being pressed or threatened, they'll just disappear or retreat. Until you press them so far that they become aggravated, and then you've got an aggressive situation. But, they watch people out of curiosity. It's their entertainment. So how would you entertain a child? It's that same childlike curiosity that gets them to come out.
They're not children, but that's the spirit that we have to have in order to work with them.
You don't have to hunt them. Get your lawn chair and go sit out in the woods and, just be yourself. Listen to your iPod or whatever you're doing. They'll come around just out of curiosity. You'll hear an acorn get flicked at you, maybe a limb or something. They're just testing to see what your reaction is going to be.
If they sense fear, they're actually, a lot of times people don't realize that they will test our fear levels intentionally, because there's almost a boundary line where they're true Sasquatch, I'm going to say. I'm not talking about any kind of interbreeding. I'm not talking about the random rogue crazy ones that might. But true Sasquatch they have a boundary. They aren't actually allowed to intentionally cause that kind of fear. Now, with infrasound, it raises debate. But normally that happens if a mother has young. Almost probably 90% of the time that we have had any kind of growl, and it wasn't severe, but anything that was foreboding was usually when there were babies around.
Is it like a defense mechanism?
But just like with people, we've got a few of them that have been kicked in the head by a moose too many times. Some of them act a little crazy and a little dangerous.
Or maybe they've had a bad experience with people before, so their first instinct is to
be aggressive,
be a little more assertive, and try to run you off. But then when you don't run off, you're going to pique their curiosity, and then that's where that exchange can start happening. But asking permission before we go into these spaces, especially, I mean, even with this being our area, our home, it was theirs first. And we have to start thinking about them with respect. So even if we're, out in the forestry, I just approach it with, can I come in the house? I make it fun. And I've never been turned down as long as it's respectful.
Now, some of the first, months, the first couple of months when we were trying to get familiar with what was going on and try to figure out what was going on down there, we'd heard rock clacking and some grunts and a couple of whoops going on down behind the pond. We went down there for a minute and were standing there, and it sounded like a concrete block splonked right in the water in front of us. And she about jumped out of her skin and grabbed me and about knocked me in the water. And then here they started launching these.
It was fun then
rocks.
Because they got a reaction especially out of me.
Yeah.
And I was laughing with nerves. I was so scared and nervous at the same time. I just started giggling. So I think I can understand why they might have thought I liked it.
Yeah, when she gets scared, she laughs like somebody's tickling her. But if they wanted to have hurt us, they could easily.
Yeah.
That they were throwing rocks in front of us in the water just to see what our reaction would be. And I think he was sitting in the brush laughing his rear end off because she was jumping each time.
And laughing. So.
Kind of like playing peekaboo with a baby. I don't know.
And if it was Junior, he went through a real spell where he was quite a little snot, and he would run up on us and he would just do crazy stuff. And I'm like, would you stop it? I felt like I had a 2-year-old running around my feet, and he's older than that. But, you could almost feel the laughter though, how much fun it was to him. And I don't always think that they are trying to be mean when they're doing these things. I think there's actually some sense of fun in it for them.
That's what I've been pondering on myself, is how do you get to the point that like you guys are at, to where if you find out where some of these things are, how do you get to the point where they actually interact with you? And maybe you answered that a couple minutes ago when you said if you could get past, the fear, and your reaction from that fear might be entertainment. And then if you don't run off, it might pique their curiosity more. So do you think that might be a good way to get something going like that?
Yeah, it's hard for a lot of people because they don't have private space like we've got access to. They're more reliant on going to a public forestry area where people are in and out, and it's a lot more of a challenge. Not that it's impossible, but it's a lot more of a challenge to develop that familiarity. But if you can kind of get yourself away from the rest of the crowd running around,
not to the point of being unsafe,
but
Mm-hmm.
like I said, just go out there, sit quietly, maybe whistle to yourself. If you've got your phone or your iPod, play a little bit of music loud enough that they can hear it. They love it. It piques their curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
They'll come around. You start that slow interaction. Just forget to pick up your peanut butter and jelly sandwich or your apple. Walk off and leave it. And the next time, do the same thing, and you kind of build that little bit of trust back and forth that you're not there to do anything to them. And so then they won't intentionally try to do anything to you.
And normally, I have found that with their mind speak, if we're actually listening, if you were going into an area like that and you just even had a thought, you don't have to speak it out loud where anybody's going to hear you, but, mentally ask, is anyone here, or are there any Sasquatch, any people here? They'll know what you mean. They feel you. They feel your words more than they hear your words. I don't know if that makes sense.
I can see that.
A lot of times when they're communicating with you like that, it's not so much in hearing words spoken in your head. You get a random picture of something you weren't even thinking about. Mm-hmm. That, about go this way or something over here or whatever it is. But it's almost like pictogram. They'll kind of give you images and then give you a feeling behind it.
If you had a piece of a half a sandwich or a whole sandwich, whatever you had, and you wanted to know where to leave it, and you're just kind of looking around, if you mentally asked, where could I leave you a gift or a simple apple? It doesn't have to be a lot to make them happy. They don't care about food. People think that they're all about the food.
It's not about the amount of food or even really so much.
They actually care less.
It's about the gesture.
The exchange.
And it can be 3 jelly beans. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, you got a sucker in your pocket or somewhere in the car, go get it, because they love suckers. But just ask them where close to where I am. If you don't want to get into an unsafe space. If you're okay with walking a little ways, that's fine. But where can I leave these for you? They will show you. They will show you a spot. And it just takes repetition, consistency, and sincerity. That's what most of us lack as human beings, is sincerity.
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
Excuse me. But when you go at it like you're trying to trick them, they know that before you've ever got out of the woods. So you're not going to get any type of positive response at it at all. And if you're not genuine with it, they're not going to interact with you. Mm-hmm. Or if they do, it's not going to be something you really want.
Now, when
go ahead.
Now, when you go into these areas, Rachel, you said that you always ask permission, or just let them know you're there and talk to them politely. Do you do that in English like you and I are communicating, or is it better? Because I've heard a lot of people talk about asking permission in like Cherokee language. Do you think that either one is better?
Honestly, like I said, I believe, my personal belief, I believe they feel our thoughts or our words more than they hear our words.
Mm-hmm.
Words have a resonance. Words have their own vibration. The world was created
from word.
By word. And if you can get your brain wrapped around the concept, energetically speaking, everything that you're thinking, feeling, is emitting from you at some level, good or bad. And they pick up on that, even if you really didn't intend to say shoot one. And I know there's a lot of places that a person probably needs to have a sidearm because they're bear or, other threats. But they hate guns, promise you. And
Yeah.
and we are not anti-gun at all. We spent years hunting, fishing. Ken was a gunsmith for years. But that's just an area with them for us that we just haven't felt good about.
No.
And, I know there's some crazy random ones out there. And I know, honestly, even if I had the biggest caliber, I don't think my reflexes are that fast. I've seen how these people move.
Just given their size and their mass and their strength and everything else, it's kind of like taking a BB gun into a buffalo herd.
So yeah, I really don't want it. It's kind of like a black bear. If you shoot one and it doesn't die, it's going to start working a circle back out to find you.
Yeah.
These people remind me of that also, in that,
But to answer your question, whatever language you speak,
mm-hmm.
if you can speak it well and you mean what you say and say what you mean,
Any
they
language
will feel it and they will understand it. It doesn't matter if it's English or, Native American or Russian or whatever. If your feeling is behind the words you say, they'll understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just to touch on the gun thing, do you think that people that go out with guns every time, you think that their chances of getting a reaction from them is significantly less?
Mm-hmm.
I think their chances of encounters are significantly less because they've already put out that whole air out in the woods
mm-hmm.
that's what they're about. So it's either going to be met with avoidance, or in the situations where they do get somewhat close, they're going to get the rock throwing and the limb throwing and the growling and the grunts telling them to get out of my space. I don't want you here because this is what you're, basically representing,
Well, and even if let's say I didn't have the intention of shooting one, I'm just carrying a sidearm. Okay. Subconsciously, we know that we have that sidearm. Subconsciously, we're thinking about that gun at some level. So no differently than the other thoughts, they pick up on these thoughts. They pick up on those feelings,
That's true. That's true. And like you said earlier, and my personal belief and the belief that I instill in my group is we are not going out there with the idea to shoot one, to kill one. First of all, like you've touched on earlier, I believe wholeheartedly that if you do shoot one of these things and you are lucky enough to put it down, you're not going to get out of the woods because there's going to be 2 or 3 more coming after you. That's always been my thought. But in the areas, this part of the country where we live, in the areas that we go, there are black bear, there are bobcats, mountain lions. I'm not going out with my firearm to protect me from Sasquatch. I'm doing it to protect me from all these other things, but I guess they have no way of knowing this.
Well, once again, that goes back to feeling and intention. They can feel a lot more coming out of you than what you think is coming out of you. If it's not something that's, in your desire and intention, you might have a higher probability. I don't want people to think that I'm telling them not to be protected or defend themselves. That's not where I'm coming from at all. But I'm just saying your chances of having
positive
more interaction is going to come from, just being raw. Here I am exposed. I know you can eat me for lunch if you want to eat me for lunch. I'm not going anywhere. here's an apple, sit down, shut up, let's have a conversation.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I think we're already at an hour, guys, but I did have another picture that you sent me. If you guys don't mind talking about it for a couple of minutes,
Sure.
you sent me this one just yesterday or the day before, and this really interesting. I think. What in the world is that?
Underneath that on the ground is a silver can that we had placed a little pack of matches, a little glass vial of sugar, little
twine string,
a little bit of string and wire, and just baubles and things that we had left out there in an area that Rachel was working on one of her fairy or elemental videos at. And I hung the trail camera up. At first glance, if you just kind of pass over it, you would think, well, that's something like a raccoon or a possum going up or down the tree, until you realize that you can see through it at spots, and it's got a vapor trail leading down toward the can, and it just, there's nothing animal about that. It's an apparition. There's a little tree in front of the big tree, so there's a gap there. But I believe there's more of it that is around the backside of that tree as well.
yeah.
But that's not the first apparition that we've found out there.
Yeah, it definitely looks like that it continues on around that tree, just not that little part that we're seeing right there. You just get the feeling that that's not all that's there. It kind of looks like smoke, doesn't it?
Smoke or vapor or some type, I don't know if ectoplasm is a good word to use or not. Probably not, but just something that is familiar to say. It's an apparition, but whatever it is, it had enough mass, enough solidity that it set off the motion detector on the trail camera.
But it's not an animal. We looked and I've never been able to see through an animal.
Yet at the same time, you can see through it. You can see the bend of that tree behind it running up through the middle.
So this is the type of trail cam that has to have motion to set it off.
Yeah, it's a motion detector, motion sensor.
Okay, so whatever that was set off the camera. So that's really interesting. But you guys see stuff like this all the time, don't you?
Yeah, and we've got other pictures of one that looks like a full head, shoulders, torso, a full body apparition. Twice we saw it with our eyes and then got it on video and then took pictures out of the video for, to save. But we've seen all kinds of stuff out there like that. We've had like these bursts or flashes that will happen. And
you remember the old cameras,
like the old camera with the cube flash on it, you'd see a flash
when we're walking,
like
all of a sudden we'll see a flash like that. It's just no idea.
It's a crazy place.
Now you said that there was an old graveyard out there that you hadn't been able to find yet. Now, do you think ghosts when you see stuff like this?
There only the once did we consider that it might be, because when we first saw it, we were how far from it? 30?
Probably about 30 yards.
About 30 yards, and I glanced, Ken did too, and I could almost see it looked like a off-white shirt, kind of like the old muslin shirts with the. They'd take a string and cross it in the front.
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
But when we first saw it, she thought it was a person standing down there because you could literally see the color of their hair, like a blonde ginger color look to it. And then as we looked, you could see right through it. So
when we got closer to look better, it's gone. I mean, just poof, and have no idea. And then the next week, I think it was, we were filming, and we just happened to look over there. There it was again.
Same area. Not in the exact same spot, but in that same area.
Yeah. And
wow.
it's
that
just,
may be where that little, I mean, I don't know what type of stones they would have used for a marker if they just put rocks on them. There's a couple of rock piles down in that spot, and then that may be what it is, because I think that it's supposed to be from like the early 18 teens, 1820s, somewhere in that time frame. So I don't know what type of markers. It may have just been wood that rotted down over the years. I don't know.
it gets swampy back
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, you guys probably never know. You know it.
I mean, I'm not
Exactly where it is.
gonna go out there and try to dig up bones. I'm not gonna do that. But
Yeah, that's pretty disrespectful, I think. All right, guys. Again, gone over an hour. I really am glad that I got a chance to meet you guys and developed a little bit of a relationship with you guys. I appreciate talking with you and learn a lot from you, just like everybody else. And you guys, y'all have a standing invitation to come back on this show and talk anytime you want. And I'll hit you guys back up to come on, at some point, and I'd appreciate it if you guys would. But thank you again so much, guys.
Thank you. We
thank you.
appreciate you.
All the videos on the channel are in a timeline. So if you go to the bottom and work your way to the top, you'll start at the beginning and all the way to now. So you kind of know how everything transpired over the course of the last 9 months.
It's just been a lot, unexpected.
Yeah.
But no complaints. It's just been a lot.
Yeah, and I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go and watch them all.
We appreciate you having us on, and we'll catch you down the trail. And thanks everybody else for stopping in tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
We're using the phone to do this and couldn't really see any of the questions or comments, so we apologize for that.
Yeah.
So I've got my other set of eyes on just so I could see Wayne.
All right, guys, I appreciate it. Y'all have a good evening, okay?
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, guys, good stuff. Good stuff. Ken and Rachel they're just awesome people. They really are. Ken and I we talked several times this past week, and I have a feeling that's going to continue. They're really, really good people, and this is an honor to have them on. Guys, I appreciate y'all hanging out with me for the last hour and almost 8 minutes. And those of you that are going to catch it later, I sure do appreciate it. I appreciate all the support that I've gotten, the text messages from people over the last few days showing support. Friends of mine that I have made in the community in the last year or so that I've been doing this, guys. That means a lot to me. I appreciate it. Next week, we already have a guest lined up, and your boy Walls will be on here helping me navigate through it. Everybody, once again, thank you so much for coming in and for supporting us, and hit that subscribe button, and check out our website mannimalresearch.com if you don't mind. Everybody, appreciate it. Y'all be good to each other. See you next time.